So now we're going to talk about basic word order. Here we have a simple transitive tree. It's a transitive sentence because it has a noun phrase which acts as the direct object as well as a subject. So we have a verb and two noun phrases. One is the subject and one is the object. And we can define the subject as the noun phrase which is external to the verb phrase. We define the object as the noun phrase which is internal to the verb phrase. It's important that we define them this way according to their relationship with the verb rather than just in terms of the order in which they come, so that we can use the same definitions for subject and object to talk about the same elements in languages other than English which have different basic word orders. So basic word order is a term which describes how a language usually orders its subjects, verbs and objects in a simple transitive sentence. Some languages, like English, have a fixed word order. We're going to talk about those for the next few minutes. But other languages have a free word order, and we'll talk about what that means in the next series of slides. So let's look at different fixed word orders. English is an SVO language. That means that it starts with a subject, which is followed by a verb, and ends with an object. If we change the order of any of these elements, we change the meaning of the sentence. So if we move the kitten from the object position at the end of the sentence and put it at the front, the kitten chased the puppy, now we have a completely different sentence. The kitten is now the subject of a different sentence. We can actually change the word order without changing the sentence meaning in English, but it's tricky and we have to do some other things, and what we end up with is no longer a simple transitive sentence. So for instance, we can say the kitten was chased by the puppy, and now the thing which was the object in the original transitive sentence is at the front, and the thing which was the original subject is at the end, giving us what looks like object, verb, subject word order. But we had to change some things. We've messed with the verb a little bit, added in an auxiliary, added the preposition by. So what we're left with is now a different type of sentence. We can change it again and say something like, it was the kitten the puppy chased. And now we have what was the object of the original sentence at the beginning, followed by the original subject and with the verb coming at the end, giving us what looks like OSV order. But again, we've had to change some stuff. We've had to add some words at the beginning. We have to change our intonation, the kitten the puppy chased, and we risk sounding like Yoda at best. Neither of these sentences are simple transitive sentences. When we talk about basic word order, we're always talking about the order elements come in a simple transitive sentence. So, SVO sentence, simple transitive, the puppy chased the kitten. And this adheres to the rules that we talked about for English earlier. A sentence is made up of a subject-noun phrase followed by a verb phrase predicate. And the verb phrase is formed by a verb followed by its object. And this is what gives us the order SVO. This is a pretty common word order in the world languages. It's the second most common word order, in fact. You see it in Chinese and Finnish and a whole bunch of others. Another really common word order, in fact the most common, is SOV. It's very similar, but there are some differences. Notice the differences in structure. So, like SVO languages, a sentence is still made up of a subject-noun phrase followed by a predicate-verb phrase. But the rules for forming the verb phrase are a little different. Here we have the object-noun phrase first and the verb comes after it. And that's how we get the SOV order. And this is the most common word order in the world's languages. It's used in Korean, Persian, and a whole bunch of others. We can also diagram a VOS sentence. Here, the rule for making a sentence is a little different. Now a sentence is made up of a verb phrase first, so the predicate comes first, and then we have the noun phrase subject after that. But the rule for creating the verb phrase is just the same as in English. It's a verb followed by its object. This is a fairly rare word order. Fijian, Malagasy and Tzotzil have this word order, and some others, but not too many overall. We can also get OVS word order, and this is the complete flip side of English word order. Everything's backwards here. So our rule for making a sentence is the opposite. It's a verb phrase predicate first, and then a noun phrase subject. And our verb phrase rule is the opposite of the English rule as well. Object first, and then verb. But the structure looks similar, just it like flipped. It's the mirror image. This is a pretty rare word order, actually. Tamil and some others have this, and actually the constructed language Klingon used in Star Trek was invented using this word order deliberately. Because it's so rare, they thought it would make the language sound more alien. Okay, so let's do a little thought experiment. We've looked at 4 basic word orders and their structures so far. It's really easy to explain these basic word orders with using the rules we've looked at so far. So we have the really common ones like SVO and SOV. VOS is less common and OVS is actually pretty rare. But we can look at them and we can see how the rules form from the appropriate trees. There are 2 other possible word orders. We have OSV, which is really rare. American Sign Language has this word order, and also the Indian language Malayalam. But there's also VSO, which is a pretty common language. All the Gaelic languages use it, Irish Gaelic, Scots Gaelic. But we haven't given you tree diagrams for these word orders. The reason for that, it's actually really hard to diagram languages with these word orders because the external argument shows up in between the verb and its object. So even though it's not, the external argument by definition does not come inside the verb phrase, somehow it intervenes between the verb and the internal argument. So have a think about how you might go about drawing the tree to diagram those sentences, and see if you can come up with any ideas about what must happen in these languages to come up with those word orders.